So let's take a look at the 1992-93 season when it comes to the Ontario Hockey League. The Soo Greyhounds won the previous two championships and looking to complete the dynasty in the early 90s. What a powerhouse the Soo Greyhounds were in the early 90s. But coming into this season, though, we had 16 teams playing 66 games. But there was a significant relocation as the Cornwall Royals would move to Newmarket to become the Newmarket Royals. Now, they were a dominant team when they were in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, which what it was known at the time. And that success never really carried over into the OHL when they transferred in the 81-82 season. The diehard fans, they kind of faded away as the argument was they were much preferred the game from the Quebec League instead of the OHL. And as a result, the team started facing some financial struggles and eventually they decided to relocate to York Region. And of course, we know that relocation would be short lived. But this is going to be the first season that we see the Newmarket Royals in the Ontario Hockey League. There was another change, though, that season, which saw the Detroit CompuWare Ambassadors rebrand to become the Detroit Junior Red Wings. And remember, at this point, the Red Wings of the National Hockey League were sharing the Joe Louis Arena with their junior hockey counterpart, as both Peter Karmanos Mike Ilitch, pretty friendly at this point, but as you'll see, there's some more twists and turns coming when it comes to OHL hockey in the city of Detroit. Looking at the standings, starting with the Leyden division, the Peterborough Petes had another stellar year. 46-15-5 was their record for 97 points. They would finish first in the division. Second, though, the Kingston Frontenacs, after finishing at the bottom of the standings for the last few seasons, they would bounce back with a record of 36-19-11, good for 83 points. The Oshawa Generals, third in the Leyden with a record of 33-28-5, 71 points. Sudbury Wolves, fourth in the division, 31-30-5 was their record with 67 points. The Newmarket Royals in their first season would make the playoffs with a record of 29-28-9, 67 points. The Belleville Bulls, sixth with a record of 21-34-11 for 53 points. And claiming the final playoff spot in the Leyden would be the North Bay Centennials with a record of 22-38-6 for 50 points. And on the outside looking in would be the Ottawa 67s with a record of 16-42-8 for 40 points. Now over in the M's division, the Soo Greyhounds just continue to dominate. First again with a record of 38-23-5 for 81 points. The Detroit Junior Red Wings, they would finish second in the division. 37-22-7 was their record for 81 points. The London Knights, third with a record of 32-27-7 for 71 points. The Owen Sound Platers, a record of 29-29-8 would be fourth best with 66 points. The Niagara Falls Thunder, fifth with a record of 29-30-7 for 65 points. The Kitchener Rangers, sixth with a record of 26-31-9 for 61 points. And that final playoff spot would belong to the Guelph Storm, 27-33-6 with 60 points. Now on the outside looking in this year, it would be the Windsor Spitfires, the record of 19-42-5 for 43 points. Now, in this season, it was interesting because we all know that the Sudbury Wolves in the Sudbury Community Arena, they're known for having a wolf that goes across the rafters every time they score a goal. And this is a tradition that dates back, way back, actually, during the early days of the Ontario Hockey League. But because of this, Sudbury, they would face the Newmarket Royals in the first round of the playoffs. And to mock Sudbury, the Newmarket fans would actually hang a stuffed wolf in the rafters every time the Royals scored a goal, kind of mocking the Sudbury tradition. You can see junior hockey fans in Newmarket pretty animated, getting right into it in their first season in the OHL. Now, the league also revived the Super Series from 6 years prior, and that would determine the host of the Memorial Cup. So first in the M's division would face the top team in the Leyden, so it would be Peterborough against the Soo, which the Greyhounds, they swept, guaranteeing themselves a third straight Memorial Cup appearance as the Soo Greyhounds, like I said, they were a powerhouse in the early 90s. In the playoffs as well, there was some history made as Detroit Junior Red Wings goaltender Fred Brathwaite, he would score a goal into the empty net. So a first for an OHL goaltender in the playoffs. And that would actually be in the semifinal against the Greyhounds. So the Soo making their presence known in a lot of history here in the 92-93 season. Also to note, George Burnett, no longer the head coach of the Niagara Falls Thunder, as he would actually take a job in the American Hockey League coaching the Cape Breton Oilers. So uh, Burnett, who had much success with Niagara Falls once he took over the head coaching duties, although his team not able to make it to the OHL final. Soo Greyhounds would be the team that would usually knock them out in either the division final or in an earlier round before that. So George Burnett leaving the OHL for the American Hockey League in the 92-93 season. Now let's look at the top scorers of this season. Andrew Brunette, he would lead the way from the Owen Sound Platers. 62 goals, 100 assists, good for 162 points. Quite outstanding there for Brunette. Second would be Bob Wren from the Detroit Junior Red Wings, 57 goals, 88 assists, 145 points. Kevin Brown, who split time between Belleville and Detroit, he was third in scoring with 50 goals, 91 assists, 141 points. Pat Peake from the Detroit Junior Red Wings, 58 goals, 78 assists, 136 points. Mike Harding from the Peterborough Petes, he had 54 goals, 82 assists, 136 points. Jason Daw of the Peterborough Petes, also making an appearance, 58 goals, 68 assists, 126 points. Bill Bowler of the Windsor Spitfires, he'd be seventh in scoring, 44 goals, 77 assists, 121 points. And to note, Bill Bowler, now the general manager of the Windsor Spitfires here at the time of recording. Jim Brown, he would be eighth from the Owen Sound Platers, 53 goals, 66 assists, 119 points. Jason Allison of the London Knights was ninth in scoring, 42 goals, 76 assists, 118 points. And rounding out the top 10 would be Jeff Bess of the Guelph Storm. He had 48 goals, 67 assists, 115 points. Now, going into the playoffs, as I mentioned, the Peterborough Petes and Soo Greyhounds, they played in the Super Series. That took place during the first round of the playoffs. So the rest of the teams starting in the Leyden division, it would be the Kingston Frontenacs taking care of the North Bay Centennials in 5 games, while the Oshawa Generals, they needed 7 games to take care of the Belleville Bulls in the first round, while the Sudbury Wolves and Newmarket Royals, they had quite the series with the drama off the ice with the fans and whatnot, but it would be the Sudbury Wolves who would win that series in 7 games. Over in the Ems division, the Detroit Junior Red Wings, they would need 5 games to take care of the Guelph Storm, while the London Knights and Kitchener Rangers, their series would go the distance, and it would be the Knights who would take it in 7 games. And the Owen Sound Platers, they would sweep the Niagara Falls Thunder to advance to the second round of the playoffs. In the quarterfinal, the Peterborough Petes, they would need 7 games to take out the Sudbury Wolves, as the Wolves making it back-to-back years to the second round, something that hasn't happened a whole lot during their early years. In the other matchup, it would be the Kingston Frontenacs taking out the Oshawa Generals. That would be in 6 games. In the Ems division, the Soo Greyhounds, they had no problems with the Owen Sound Platers as they would complete the series sweep, while the Detroit Junior Red Wings, they would take care of the London Knights in 5 games. Then in the semifinal, the Peterborough Petes and Kingston Frontenacs would battle it out. We don't see Kingston going this far in the playoffs, but it'd be the end of the road here as the Petes would take this series in 5 games, and the Soo Greyhounds knocking off the Detroit Junior Red Wings in 5 games. And in the final, after these two teams met in the Super Series, the Peterborough Petes, they would win the OHL Championship. So cutting Sault Ste. Marie's OHL Championship dynasty just short, winning that series in 5 games. However, the Sioux did guarantee themselves a berth in the Memorial Cup. So going into the Memorial Cup, like I said, the Greyhounds, they were the host, and the Petes, they would renew their rivalry from the season, joining the Laval Titan and from the QMJHL and the Swift Current Broncos from the Western Hockey League. Now, in the round robin, the Greyhounds, they would finish first with a record of 2-1, so an automatic trip to the Memorial Cup final. While the Peterborough Petes also had a record of 2-1, they would finish second and would have to play in the semifinal. So the Peterborough Petes in the semifinal would defeat the Laval Titan 3-1 before facing the Greyhounds in the final, where Sault Ste. Marie would win their very first Memorial Cup by a final score of 4-2. What a battle it was all year, 92-93, between the Soo Greyhounds and the Peterborough Petes. They meet in the Super Series, meet for the J. Ross Robertson Cup, and then meet again here for the Memorial Cup, where the Soo Greyhounds would have the last laugh and winning the Memorial Cup on home ice. I've heard so many great stories about the old Memorial Gardens in Sault Ste. Marie. I just can't imagine what the atmosphere must have been like when Sault Ste. Marie able to win that Memorial Cup on home ice against the Petes. Now, looking at the award winners from that season, not going to list every award winner, but Pat Peake of the Detroit Junior Red Wings, he won the Red Tilson Award, while the Eddie Powers Memorial Trophy went to Andrew Brunette of the Owen Sound Platers. The Matt Layden went to Gary Agnew of the London Knights, while Kevin Brown won the Jim Mahon Memorial Trophy, Brown playing with the Junior Red Wings. The Max Comiskey Trophy went to Chris Pronger. He was a beast for the Peterborough Petes. No surprise there, seeing him win the Max Comiskey. The OHL Goaltender of the Year went to Manny Legacy, who played for the Niagara Falls Thunder, another player that would go on to play in the National Hockey League. The Jack Ferguson Award went to Alan McCauley of the Ottawa 67, so he was drafted first overall that season. The Dave Pinky Trophy went to Chad Lang and Ryan Douglas of the Peterborough Petes. Well, the Ems Family Award, Jeff O'Neill of the Guelph Storm, yes, O-Dog from TSN, he would win Rookie of the Year from the Guelph Storm. He had quite the season, and his next season would also be quite remarkable too, so just a heads up on that. And the OHL Humanitarian of the Year Award would go to Kelly Corpse of the Kingston Frontenacs, while the Leo Lalonde Memorial Trophy going to Scott Hollis of the Oshawa Generals. So just a few of the award winners that season, as we're going to start seeing even more familiar names if you watch the National Hockey League over the last 20 years or so, as it was quite the run there for the Soo Greyhounds. So winning 2 out of the 3 OHL championships, and then, of course, the Memorial Cup in 1993. So they had a dynasty. I would call it a dynasty just with their dominance and winning a championship each season, but finally winning that Memorial Cup on home ice. So if you have some good fond memories of the 92-93 season, love to see that in the comments section down below. It's been a fun run so far, and we're not done yet going season by season of the OHL history. So again, thank you very much for your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you again soon.